The crystalline bridges of the Xyrillian dreadnought, Eternal Light, sparkled under the distant starlight as High Commander Vexthor observed the approaching vessels through his compound eyes. His iridescent exoskeleton shifted colors slightly, a sign of mild amusement among his kind. The human ships looked almost primitive, their hulls bearing visible welding marks and what appeared to be modular components hastily assembled together. Tactical analysis, he commanded, his translator converting the clicks and whistles of his native tongue into the fleet standard communication format. Lieutenant Zariel, her feather-like sensory appendages twitching with barely contained excitement, responded immediately. 3 vessels, Commander. Deuterium fusion propulsion, minimal energy shielding, and what appears to be primitive projectile-based weapon systems. Their largest vessel is approximately 1/4 the size of the Eternal Light. Vexthor's secondary breathing chambers expelled air in what his species considered laughter. The Xyrillian Empire had conquered 12 star systems in the past solar cycle alone, their crystalline technology far surpassing anything they'd encountered. These humans, these newcomers to the galactic stage, had stumbled into their territory with ships that looked like they belonged in a museum. Send the standard warning. If they don't retreat immediately, we'll add their vessels to our collection of conquered curiosities, Vexthor announced, his exoskeleton now pulsing with the deep purple of anticipated victory. The warning was transmitted, a complex series of quantum-encrypted signals that most species took decades to decode. To everyone's surprise, the response came almost instantly. This is Captain Ramar Patel of the Earth exploration vessel, Horizon's Dawn, a calm voice responded in perfect Xyrillian language patterns. We acknowledge your presence in this sector and request peaceful dialogue. The bridge crew's collective shock manifested in a wave of color changes across their exoskeletons. The humans shouldn't have been able to decode their communications, let alone respond in their language with such precision. Impossible, Zariel whispered, her appendages now rigid with concern. Our linguistic encryption could be compromised, Vexthor finished, his amusement fading. Scan their vessels again. Full spectrum analysis. The results only deepened the mystery. The human ship's seemingly crude exterior masked sensor scattering materials that defied their best scanning attempts. What had appeared as primitive welding marks now seemed to form patterns that interfered with the Xyrillians' crystalline-based scanning technology. They're maintaining position, the navigation officer reported. But sir, there's something odd about their energy signatures. They're fluctuating in ways our systems can't interpret. Vexthor's mandibles clicked in irritation. His species had achieved spaceflight 3,000 years ago, developing technology based on living crystals that grew and evolved. They had never encountered a civilization that could challenge their technological superiority. Yet something about these humans felt wrong. Launch probes, he ordered. Full combat readiness. The crystalline probes, beautiful works of geometric art that doubled as deadly weapons platforms, emerged from the Eternal Light's launch bays. They accelerated toward the human vessels, their crystalline matrices preparing to analyze and, if necessary, neutralize the potential threat. None of them made it halfway. Without any visible weapon discharge or energy signature, the probes simply stopped existing. One moment they were there, the next they had vanished as if they had never been. Explain. Vexthor demanded, his exoskeleton now pulsing with the red-orange of alarm. Before anyone could respond, Captain Patel's voice returned, still eerily calm. High Commander Vexthor, we apologize for the destruction of your probes. Consider it a demonstration of our preference to avoid conflict. Perhaps we could discuss the recent disappearances of merchant vessels in this sector. Our data suggests Xyrillian involvement. The bridge fell silent. The disappearances were classified information, known only to the highest levels of the Empire's military command. The humans shouldn't have known about them, shouldn't have been able to track them, shouldn't have been able to neutralize their most advanced probe technology without visible means. What are you? Vexthor found himself asking, professional protocol momentarily forgotten. A new voice joined the communication channel, older, confident, speaking with the weight of authority. Admiral James Okoro, Earth Defense Fleet. What we are, High Commander, is a species that learned to hide its capabilities until necessary. Your empire has been expanding aggressively, and we've been watching. Those merchant vessels you've been collecting. Some of them were under our protection. We hoped to resolve this diplomatically, but your empire's actions forced our hand. As if to emphasize the admiral's words, the human vessels began to change. Their seemingly crude hulls shifted, panels realigning, revealing weapon systems that hadn't been there moments before. The energy signatures that had confused their sensors suddenly made sense. They weren't reading the ship's true power because it had been purposefully hidden. You've had cloaked weapons pointed at us this entire time, Vexthor realized, his species' pride warring with newfound caution. Not cloaked, High Commander, Admiral Okoro corrected. Transformed. You see, humanity took a different path in our technological evolution. While you grew your crystalline computers, we learned to make our technology adapt and change. Every panel of our ship's hull can become a weapon, a shield, or a sensor array as needed. We call it metamorphic engineering. Vexthor's tactical mind raced through the implications. A civilization that could hide its true capabilities so completely, that could transform its technology at will, that had been watching them without detection. The Xyrillian Empire hadn't stumbled upon a primitive species. They had awakened a sleeping giant. Perhaps, he said carefully, his exoskeleton shifting to the blue-green of diplomatic openness, we should have that discussion about peaceful dialogue after all. 2 solar days after the initial encounter, High Commander Vexthor found himself in an unprecedented situation. His mighty dreadnought, the Eternal Light, hung in space alongside the human vessels, no longer as a superior force but as an uncertain equal. The humans had requested a joint investigation of a nearby mining colony, claiming it would help demonstrate why they had chosen this moment to reveal themselves. Activity detected at the colony's outer defense perimeter, Lieutenant Zariel reported, her feather-like appendages rippling with concern. Energy signatures matched those of Drachnid raiders. The Drachnids were a persistent threat in this sector, pirates who used stolen technology to prey on isolated outposts. They were beneath the Empire's notice most times, but their attacks had grown bolder recently. 7 Drachnid vessels, Captain Patel's voice came through their communications system. They're using modified Xyrillian weapons. Interesting. Vexthor's exoskeleton flickered with embarrassment. The humans had just confirmed their suspicions about where the pirates had acquired their advanced weaponry, through corrupt elements within the Empire itself. We should engage, Vexthor suggested, eager to prove his fleet's worth. Our crystalline cannons can dash. No need, Admiral Okoro interrupted calmly. Watch and learn, High Commander. Lieutenant Reeves, deploy the Guardians. From the smallest human vessel, 6 objects emerged. At first, they appeared to be simple probes, not unlike the ones the Xyrillians had lost in their first encounter. But as Vexthor watched, the objects transformed. Panels shifted, components rearranged, and what had been basic spheres became elegant machines that defied conventional design. What are those? Zariel whispered, her scientific curiosity overwhelming protocol. Autonomous defense units, Captain Patel explained. Or as we like to call them, Guardians. They're semi-sentient combat systems that adapt to any threat they encounter. The Guardians accelerated toward the Drachnid raiders, their forms continuing to shift and change. The pirates, noticing the approaching threats, opened fire with their stolen Xyrillian weapons. Crystal energy beams lanced through space, and passed harmlessly through the Guardians, which had already transformed their outer layers into energy-dispersing fields. Impossible, Vexthor breathed. Those weapons can cut through any known defense. Known being the operative word, Admiral Okoro replied. Humanity has spent decades studying every species we've encountered, learning their technological principles, and developing countermeasures. We prefer to avoid conflict, but we believe in being prepared. The Guardians reached the Drachnid ships and demonstrated exactly what that preparation meant. Each unit split into multiple smaller components, surrounding their targets. The pirates' shields, reverse-engineered from Xyrillian technology, proved useless as the Guardians simply phased through them, their structure temporarily shifting to a quantum state that ignored conventional barriers. Their molecular structure, Zariel observed, her sensors focused on the battle. It's as if they're rewriting their own physical properties at will. Quantum restructuring, Captain Patel confirmed. Like your crystalline technology, but taken in a different direction. Instead of growing our machines, we taught them to rebuild themselves at the subatomic level. The battle, if it could even be called that, ended in moments. The Drachnid ships hung motionless in space, their systems completely disabled by the Guardians' precise interventions. No lives lost, no ships destroyed, just a clinical demonstration of technological superiority that made the Xyrillians' own capabilities seem primitive by comparison. The colony, Vexthor said suddenly, remembering their original purpose. You knew the raiders would be here. We knew, Admiral Okoro acknowledged. Just as we know they've been selling their stolen goods back to frontier worlds, creating a cycle of dependency on the Empire's technology. It's a clever system, the Empire gains influence, the pirates profit, and if anyone complains, the raids provide an excuse for protective occupation. Vexthor's secondary hearts beat faster. The humans hadn't just been watching, they'd unraveled the entire scheme that even he hadn't been fully aware of. His own superiors had kept him in the dark, using his patrols as unwitting cover for their expansion strategy. The Guardians are collecting evidence now, Captain Patel added. Data cores, transaction records, communication logs. Everything needed to prove the connection between the raiders and certain elements within your Empire's leadership. Why show us this? Vexthor asked, his natural colors showing through his exoskeleton, a sign of deep distress among his kind. You could have taken this evidence directly to our Council of Elders. Admiral Okoro's voice carried a note of what humans called kindness. Because, High Commander, we believe in giving people choices. Your empire stands at a crossroads. You can continue down this path of corruption and conquest, forcing us to take more direct action, or you can help us reform the system from within. The Guardians returned to their ships, transforming back into innocent-looking spheres. But Vexthor would never again be fooled by innocent appearances where humans were concerned. Their technology, their patience, their strategic thinking, everything about them challenged his species' assumptions about their place in the galaxy. The Council will resist changes to the existing power structure, he warned. They might, Captain Patel agreed. Until they learn that we've already shared this technology with several of their potential conquest targets. The next time your Empire's ships try to protect a colony, they might find themselves facing their own tactics, turned back against them by defended worlds. Vexthor watched as the disabled pirate ships were tractored into holding positions. His entire worldview had shifted in the space of 2 days. The humans hadn't just hidden their true nature, they had been quietly reshaping the balance of power throughout known space, preparing for the moment when they would need to reveal themselves. When did your species become so formidable? He asked. We've always been formidable, Admiral Okoro replied. We just learned long ago that true power lies not in showing your strength, but in choosing the right moment to reveal it. Now, shall we discuss the future of human-Xyrillian relations? The observation deck of the Horizon's Dawn offered a spectacular view of both fleets, the crystalline elegance of Xyrillian ships contrasting with the adaptable, modular design of human vessels. Admiral Okoro stood beside High Commander Vexthor, both leaders watching as teams from their respective species conducted the first official technology exchange. Your engineers seem frustrated, Okoro noted, observing a group of Xyrillian technicians whose exoskeletons flickered with colors of confusion and dismay. They're trying to understand how your quantum restructuring works, Vexthor admitted. Our entire technological foundation is based on growing and nurturing living crystals. The idea of technology that can completely rewrite itself challenges everything we know. A human engineer approached, carrying what appeared to be a simple metal cube. Dr. Nasir Rahman, the Horizon's chief scientist, held it out to Vexthor. Perhaps a demonstration would help. May I? The High Commander carefully took the cube, his compound eyes analyzing its seemingly basic structure. This is primitive metal alloy. Watch, Rahman instructed. As Vexthor held the cube, it began to change. The surface rippled like liquid, then reformed into a perfect replica of a Xyrillian communication crystal. The nanites read your bioelectric field and created what you were thinking about. But that's just the surface level. Lieutenant Zariel, who had been quietly observing nearby, leaned forward with scientific curiosity. It perfectly duplicated our crystal's quantum resonance patterns. How is this possible? We call it empathic engineering, Rahman explained. The technology doesn't just transform, it learns, adapts, understands. Every particle can be reprogrammed at the quantum level to serve any function needed. The demonstration was interrupted by a priority alert. Captain Patel's voice came through both human and Xyrillian communication systems. Admiral, Commander, we're receiving a transmission from the Xyrillian Council of Elders. They're not happy. The observation deck's main screen activated, revealing the imposing figures of the Council. 9 ancient Xyrillians, their exoskeletons encrusted with living crystals that had grown with them over centuries, gazed down at the assembled leaders. High Commander Vexthor, the first Elder's voice crackled with barely contained rage, you have exceeded your authority. These humans are a threat to the natural order. Their technology is an abomination that defies the sacred principles of crystal evolution. Vexthor's exoskeleton pulsed with determination as he straightened to his full height. Respected elders, I must disagree. The humans have shown us not a threat, but an opportunity. Their understanding of quantum mechanics could revolutionize our own crystal technology. They have corrupted you, another elder hissed. We are dispatching the Grand Fleet. These humans will be contained, their dangerous technology confiscated and studied properly under Council supervision. Admiral Okoro stepped forward, his calm demeanor unchanged. Honorable elders, perhaps we should discuss the evidence we've gathered regarding certain Council members' involvement with the Drachnid raiders. Or would you prefer we share that information with your civilian population first? The council chamber erupted in a cascade of color changes as the elders' exoskeletons betrayed their shock and fear. The first elder's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. You dare threaten the council? Not a threat, Okoro replied smoothly. An invitation to evolution. Your empire stands at the cusp of a new era. You can embrace change and grow stronger, or cling to the past and watch your influence wane as other species advance beyond you. Dr. Rahman activated a holographic display, showing the cube transforming again, this time into a hybrid form that combined Xyrillian crystal technology with human quantum engineering. We've already begun developing synthesis protocols. Imagine living crystals that could adapt and transform like our technology. The potential is limitless. The council fell silent, their ancient minds processing the implications. Finally, a younger elder spoke up. The ancient texts speak of the crystal metamorphosis, a theoretical state where our technology could transcend its current limitations. Perhaps these humans have found a path we overlooked. We did not achieve our dominion by embracing alien ways, the first elder countered, but his resolve was visibly weakening. Captain Patel's voice cut through the tension. Multiple ships emerging from quantum space. Signatures match, it's the Grand Fleet, but they're not alone. 3 refugee vessels from the Drachnid raids are with them, equipped with Guardian technology. The Council's shock was palpable as they watched their mighty warships escorted by the very victims they had secretly exploited, now armed with human defensive capabilities. The balance of power had shifted before their eyes. You see, Admiral Okoro said quietly, we believe in teaching others to defend themselves. Those refugees chose to reveal themselves now, to show you that the old ways of conquest are no longer viable. But they're also ready to help forge a new path forward. Vexthor moved to stand beside the human admiral, his exoskeleton showing the deep blue of profound revelation. Honored elders, I formally request permission to establish a joint human-Xyrillian research initiative. Let us learn from each other, grow together, and create something greater than either of our species could achieve alone. The council chamber erupted in debate, colors flashing across ancient exoskeletons like aurora storms. The first elder finally raised a crystalline-encrusted limb for silence. The council will need time to deliberate. But we recognize the reality before us. High Commander Vexthor, you will continue diplomatic relations with the humans. Admiral Okoro, consider the Grand Fleet's deployment suspended. As the transmission ended, Dr. Ramon turned to Vexthor. Your council fears change. It's a common reaction across species. But fear can transform into wonder, given time and understanding. Like your quantum restructuring technology, Zariel observed, still studying the hybrid crystal quantum construct. Exactly, Ramon smiled. Sometimes the most powerful changes begin with the smallest shifts in perspective. The gathered leaders watched as human and Xyrillian engineers continued their work, two vastly different approaches to technology beginning to merge and transform, much like the device that had started it all. The future was uncertain, but it held the promise of evolution for both species. The emergency alert echoed through both human and Xyrillian vessels simultaneously. A distress signal from a frontier research station had detected something far more dangerous than pirates, a void swarm incursion. These mysterious entities emerged from dimensional rifts, consuming everything in their path, and neither humanity nor the Xyrillian Empire had faced them successfully alone. All personnel, battle stations, Captain Patel's voice rang clear across the combined fleet. This is not a drill. Void swarm emergence confirmed at coordinates Delta 79. High Commander Vexthor watched in fascination as the human ships began their transformation. Panels shifted, weapons emerged, and entire sections reconfigured themselves into combat formations he had never seen before. Fascinating. Your vessels truly are living machines. Not living, Admiral Okoro corrected, standing on the horizon's Dawn's Bridge. Evolving. Lieutenant Commander Reza, deploy the orbital strike team. Through the main viewport, Vexthor observed as 12 human figures emerged from the horizon's dawn. Their combat suits looked deceptively simple at first, but like everything human, they began to change. Armor plates shifted and reformed, adapting to the vacuum of space, while propulsion systems materialized from seemingly nowhere. Your warriors enter void combat personally. Lieutenant Zariel asked, her sensor appendages twitching with a mixture of horror and admiration. The risks. Calculated risks, Commander Reza's voice came through the comm system as she led her team toward the research station. Our suits are extensions of ourselves, capable of adapting to any threat we encounter. The void swarm won't expect direct engagement. The scene before them was chaos incarnate. The research station's outer sections were already being consumed by writhing masses of dark energy, entity forms that defied normal physics. Conventional weapons, both human and Xyrillian, seemed to pass right through them. Normal matter can't touch them, Dr. Ramon explained from his science station. They exist partially in another dimension. But watch this, strike team, activate quantum phase synchronization. The human combat team's suits suddenly shifted again, taking on an otherworldly appearance. Their armor now rippled with patterns that hurt to look at, as if they existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. By the crystal matrix, Vexthor breathed, watching as the human warriors engaged the void swarm directly. Their weapons, which seemed to reshape themselves for each encounter, actually affected the dimensional entities. How are they doing this? We learned to fight on their level, Reza explained between precise strikes that scattered void matter into harmless energy. Our suits can partially shift into their dimension, making physical combat possible. "Commander, we're detecting survivors in the central hub." The Void Swarm, seeming to realize these prey could actually fight back, began to change their tactics. They merged into larger forms, creating void tentacles that reached for the human warriors. But with each new threat, the combat suits adapted, generating countermeasures that hadn't existed seconds before. "Xyrillian support crews, prepare for survivor evacuation," Admiral Okoro ordered. "Your crystalline ships can withstand void corruption longer than conventional materials. Create a corridor for our strike team." The Eternal Light and its escort vessels moved into position, their living crystal hulls pulsing with defensive energy. The Void Swarm attacked the ships, but the crystalline structure actually repelled them briefly, just long enough for what came next. "Strike team, initiate Protocol Omega," Reza commanded. Her team's suits underwent their most dramatic transformation yet, merging into a network defense grid around the research station's central hub. Each warrior became a node in a quantum-linked barrier that forced the Void Swarm back. "The survivors," Zariel reported, her voice tight with concern. "I'm reading 37 life signs. Mixed species. But the void corruption is spreading through the station's life support systems." "Not for long," Reza responded. "Team, prepare for dimensional inversion." What happened next challenged everything the Xyrillians thought they knew about combat. The human warriors, their suits now linked into a single defensive system, created a localized dimensional shift. The Void Swarm entities, suddenly finding themselves pushed back into their own dimension, retreated in what almost looked like panic. "Extraction teams, move in now," Admiral Okoro ordered. Xyrillian crystal shuttles, protected by the humans' dimensional barrier, docked with the station. The evacuation was swift, precise, and surprisingly casualty-free. As the survivors were brought aboard the Eternal Light, Vexthor found himself studying the human warriors as they returned. Their suits, now returning to their deceptively simple appearance, showed no signs of the incredible transformations they had undergone. "Your combat capabilities," he said to Commander Reza as she removed her helmet, revealing a face etched with quiet confidence. "They go beyond anything we imagined possible. Humanity learned early that survival often means adapting to fight on any level necessary," she replied. "But we prefer to use these capabilities for defense, not conquest. That's what your council doesn't understand yet." Dr. Rahman joined them, his eyes bright with scientific excitement. "The data we gathered from this encounter, the way your crystal ships interacted with our quantum barriers, it suggests possibilities we hadn't considered. With your permission, High Commander, I believe we could develop defenses that combine both our technologies." Vexthor looked at his own crew, seeing the colors of revelation and respect flowing across their exoskeletons. The humans had just demonstrated not only technological superiority but also tactical flexibility and a commitment to saving lives that challenged the Empire's entire military doctrine. "The Council will want a full report," he said finally. "But I suspect this incident will do more to convince them of the benefits of cooperation than any diplomatic argument could have achieved." "That's why we let you witness it firsthand," Admiral Okoro admitted. "Sometimes the best way to change minds is to show rather than tell. Your empire needed to see that there are threats out there that can only be faced together." As the combined fleet prepared to escort the survivors to safety, Vexthor watched the human ships resuming their normal configurations. He understood now that their unassuming appearance was itself a kind of power, the ability to be exactly what was needed, when it was needed, without the need for display or dominance. The age of Xyrillian supremacy was over, but perhaps something better was beginning, an era of transformation, adaptation, and shared evolution that would make both their species stronger. The Grand Chamber of the Xyrillian Council of Elders had never hosted anything quite like this gathering. The ancient crystalline walls, grown over millennia, reflected the diverse assemblage of species below, Xyrillian elders, human diplomats, and representatives from a dozen worlds that had once feared the Empire's expansion. High Commander Vexthor stood beside Admiral Okoro as Dr. Ramon prepared to present their findings from the past month of joint research. The council chamber's colors shifted subtly, reflecting the mixed anticipation and anxiety of the Xyrillian observers. Honored Council, Ramon began, activating a holographic display that filled the chamber's center. What we're about to show you isn't just a technological breakthrough. It's a glimpse into the potential future of all our species. The hologram showed the hybrid crystal quantum matrix they had developed, living crystal infused with human transformation technology. As they watched, the structure evolved, adapted, and transformed in ways that made even the eldest council members' exoskeletons pulse with wonder. Impossible, the first elder whispered, but without the dismissive tone that had marked their earlier encounters. The crystal matrix shouldn't be able to maintain stability through such transformations. That's what we thought too, Lieutenant Zariel added, her scientific enthusiasm overwhelming traditional protocol. But human quantum engineering doesn't just change matter, it creates new rules for how matter can behave. Commander Reza stepped forward, her combat suit shifting to display the same principles in action. What you're seeing is just the beginning. We've learned that your crystal technology has capabilities you never explored because you were looking at it through a single lens. The demonstration continued as human and Xyrillian scientists worked together, showing how their combined technologies could create defenses against the void swarm, clean up dimensional rifts, and even heal damaged spacetime. But it was the next revelation that truly changed everything. We've detected something remarkable, Dr. Ramon announced, adjusting the holographic display. The quantum crystal matrix doesn't just transform, it evolves. It learns from every change, every adaptation. And it can share that knowledge across any distance, instantly. Admiral Okoro nodded to Captain Patel, who transmitted new data to the display. We've confirmed that quantum-enhanced crystals in the Centauri system are spontaneously developing the same adaptations as those in this chamber, despite being light-years apart. They're forming a network, sharing information faster than light itself. The council chamber erupted in discussion, colors flashing across exoskeletons like lightning in a crystal storm. The implications were staggering, not just for technology, but for the very future of both species. Your ships, Vexthor realized, turning to Okoro. They weren't just hiding their capabilities. They were evolving throughout our entire interaction, learning, adapting. Just as yours can now, Okoro confirmed. But that's not why we revealed ourselves to your empire. Show them, Doctor. Ramon's expression turned grave as he modified the holographic display. We've detected increased void swarm activity across multiple sectors. The dimensional barriers are weakening. What we encountered at the research station wasn't an isolated incident, it was a precursor. The chamber fell silent as the data played out before them. Void rifts were appearing with greater frequency, threatening not just individual stations or colonies, but the very fabric of spacetime in their galaxy. This is why we chose this moment to reveal ourselves, Captain Patel explained. Humanity has been preparing for this threat since we first detected it decades ago. But we can't face it alone. The void swarm isn't just a dimensional anomaly, it's an immune response from the universe itself, reacting to the damage caused by conventional faster-than-light travel and energy exploitation. A natural defense mechanism, the first elder mused, their crystalline growths glinting. Like our own bodies fighting an infection. Exactly, Ramon confirmed. But together, our technologies offer a solution. Xyrillian living crystals can harmonize with natural spacetime frequencies, while our quantum engineering can adapt to and redirect void energies. Combined, they create a new paradigm for how we interact with the universe itself. Commander Reza activated her suit's advanced sensors, adding another layer to the holographic display. We're already seeing the effects. The quantum crystal network doesn't just share information, it helps heal the dimensional damage. Every adaptation, every transformation strengthens the barrier between dimensions. This is why we appeared primitive at first, Admiral Okoro explained to the Council. Humanity learned that true evolution isn't about displaying power, it's about growing in harmony with the universe around us. Your crystal technology has that same potential, but you've been using it to dominate rather than cooperate. The first elder rose slowly, their ancient form towering over the assembly. You offer us not just technological advancement, but a fundamental change in how we exist in the cosmos. Why should we trust this path? Because you've already seen it work, Vexthor responded, his exoskeleton showing the deep blues and greens of profound understanding. Every encounter with the humans has shown us a different way of thinking, of adapting, of growing. They could have conquered us with their superior technology. Instead, they waited, watched, and chose the moment to help us evolve. The chamber's crystalline walls seemed to pulse in response to the emotion and energy filling the space. The hybrid technologies they had created together resonated with the ancient structure, creating patterns of light and color never seen before in the Council's long history. We stand at a crossroads, Admiral Okoro concluded. Not just our species, but all sentient life in this galaxy. We can continue fighting each other, weakening the dimensional barriers until the void swarm consumes everything, or we can adapt, evolve, and transform together. The choice, as it has always been, is yours. As the council began their deliberations, Vexthor watched the humans speaking quietly with representatives from other worlds. He understood now that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their amazing technology or combat capabilities. It was their ability to see potential where others saw only threats, to transform weakness into strength, and to help others evolve alongside them. The age of isolation and competition was ending. In its place, a new era was beginning, one where the children of evolution, whether born of Earth or grown from living crystal, would face the universe's challenges together, adapting, transforming, and growing into something greater than any single species could achieve alone.